I used to optimize my days so I could play as much video games and watch as much anime as I possibly could. So when I was back in university, I would do the absolute bare minimum of work that I need to do just to barely get an A. So this was about 2 hours per day of work. But then after I finished university, I decided to get a consulting job, and suddenly I was forced to work almost 90 hours per week. So the little time that I had left, I had to use for sleep and not get much of it. So I needed to find a way that practically required zero time, but got me ready to work almost 10 times more than I normally would, and worked for multiple years so I could stay consistent with it. And if I didn't find something like this, of course, my job was on the line. So stick around to find out the answer of what made me work 90 hours per week, or maybe you'll just find out the things that I did and how I eventually lost my job. But regardless, I think this would be helpful to boosting your productivity. But before we get started, let me give you one hint. If you're very observant, you probably looked at a thumbnail and might be thinking it's a cold shower. But no, it's not a cold shower. So within the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to cover what this method is exactly, and hint, it's not caffeine, not bright lights, and as I mentioned, not cold showers. 2, how this is actually 0 steps, so it requires no additional time. And 3, how it can work for you scientifically by showing you how it scientifically works for this guy right here. Although some of you may be still a little skeptical about the actual 10x in productivity, 10x in work. Well, why I'm saying 10x is because literally I used to work only about 2 hours a day, as I mentioned, and I was forced to now work almost 90 hours per week. That's 18 hours per day. So I went from working 2 hours to 18 hours on a consistent basis. That's just about 10x. Actually, 9x if you want to be very specific. So that is why I'm saying 10x. Now on to the method. On a typical day of within my job working 90-hour a week, I would get up from my bed, then I would go into brush my teeth, then I would just head into wash my face, put on my clothes, then I would pretty much head to work. And once I got to work, I would do a couple of things. So I would go get a coffee. Within the Uber car that I would always drive, I would try to look at the bright light, the sun in the morning. And then third, I would maybe go get something to eat. So in the beginning, this was how I started working those 90-hour days. I would try to drink as much caffeine and get as much bright light as possible in order to get myself awake and ready to work for the day and have enough energy, because, I was sleepy, barely got any sleep. And then within this, probably right around after I wash my face, I might get in a cold shower here. Eventually, it was what I tried. So these 3 things, including kind of the food, I try to eat maybe sugary foods to give me more energy, because your brain burns sugar. So I try to get a little sugary foods or different foods in the morning. So let me ask you, which of these do you think it is? As I mentioned, it wasn't the cold showers, it wasn't the caffeine, and it wasn't the bright light. So you might be thinking, okay, it might be the food. Well, actually, it was none of these. It was actually one of these steps beforehand. So for the caffeine, why this never actually worked, get me working 90 hours a week, because I actually ended up just being jittery, and then therefore I couldn't concentrate. Like once you get over 2 cups per coffee, at least for me, you have sort of like a weird jittery feeling. It feels like you have to do so many things, but you can't actually focus on the one thing that you need to do. And then eating those sugary foods to just try to give me more energy, because I feel tired. And actually, when you do feel sleepy, there is hormones released that make it so you're more hungry. So it seems like eating these sugary foods will make you more productive and make you more energized. But actually, when I ate them, it would just make my mouth feel grimy, kind of that sticky feeling or grimy feeling in your mouth. And also, it just made me feel a bit more sluggish as well. Then the cold showers. This was actually just such a pain in the ass. You would have to wake up in the morning, you already feel like garbage, you go in the shower, you feel more like garbage, and it's an extra step because I typically take my showers at night, so it's just such a pain, and especially when I don't have that much time. And then onto the bright light. Typically, the bright light would be something good, and of course, you would think it would work, but it just didn't really work for me because I actually had to change time zones pretty much on the weekly basis. I was in like California, Chicago, sometime in the East Coast area, all over the place. So the bright light really wasn't working for me because my circadian rhythm was all messed up. So again, I needed to find a way to add it right in the morning and not have it any of these other things that I'm trying to consume later on. And at this point, you might be wondering, okay, well, it's probably not brushing your teeth, and it's probably not waking up, and probably not getting your clothes, and how could it be washing your face, right? So what else could I possibly have added? But before I tell you specifically exactly what I added, let me tell you how it is actually 0 steps, and you might actually be able to start to figure out yourself. So at a bare minimum, I needed to wash my face, and then I had kind of like a bedhead in the morning every single day. So I wanted to get rid of that bedhead. And of course, I always want to brush my teeth, I always want to wake up, and I always need to put my clothes on. So the method was within here. How this method is in here and how this is actually 0 steps is because instead of adding something new, I decided I need to alter what I'm already doing in order to give me a boost of energy that allowed me to work 90 hours a week, instead of actually adding another step that just becomes cumbersome and you can't really stay consistent with it. And it actually does come with the benefits of one of the things that I was doing. So if you think back a little bit of the things that I decided didn't work. So the caffeine, I said it made me a bit jittery and can't concentrate. So I couldn't alter that in any way. the sunlight was fine, right? This is something maybe I could have altered in the morning if I just wasn't changing time zones. And then the food, of course, didn't really work. There was nothing that I found that I could really just eat and instantly make me better. So it was really the cold showers. If you remember what I said here, the only issue with it was a pain in the ass to do. So what could I alter in my bare minimum routine of this section right here that could actually take the benefits of a cold shower without it being a pain in the ass? And that's actually the face wash. So now the question is, how can you possibly alter a face wash to be same as a cold shower? Well, you're probably thinking like, okay, now you can just wash your face with cold water. And sure, that works okay. The only issue with that is if you're only washing your face, you're not getting enough coverage with the cold water. So how I actually altered the cold water face wash is now instead of just washing my face, I would wash my entire head. There's a very specific reason for that. So as you know, if you get in a cold shower, you would of course wet your entire body. And that includes your entire head. And the thing that it does when you wet your head, it actually fixes your bed head, and yet at the same time as washing your face. So now just altering the cold water face wash and now just rinsing my entire head, I can get the benefits of the cold shower of fixing my bed head at the same time of washing my face. So it requires no additional time. I'm just putting now cold water on my entire head instead of like washing my face with warm water. And since it's just altering something that I'm already doing every single day, no matter what, I can stay consistent with it. But you may still be wondering, how could this work for you? How could this possibly give you 10x the energy to work every single day and 10x your productivity? Well, if you remember this guy right here that I mentioned in the beginning, we can actually watch this video right here for 1 minute and you may begin to figure out how it'll scientifically actually work for you. So unfortunately, while I was uploading this, I noticed that YouTube is copyright striking this portion. So I'm just going to voice over instead. So basically, this is a marmot, a little animal right here, has to hibernate every single year. And as you can imagine, it's quite difficult to wake up in the morning for you, just a regular waking up after sleeping for a long time. So imagine how difficult it is for this guy to wake up from hibernation, which means he's basically sleeping super deeply for a couple of months. And waking up from hibernation is a relatively intricate process. So he of course uses the fat stores he has for the entire duration to just stay alive. But whatever he has left near the end of the hibernation is what he actually uses as fuel over here in order to get his heart start pumping blood throughout his body. And then that blood that he pumps through his body is what warms him up and gets him actually awake and ready to go. And then if you take a look at here, you can see, oh, he's awake. Okay, you may have not got exactly the mechanism, scientific mechanism there and how it relates to washing your head with cold water. But if you remember, I adapted this washing your face from the benefits of a cold shower. So the benefits of a cold shower, you'll have, of course, increased metabolism. You're gonna fix your hair in the morning. You're gonna wash your face. You're gonna be able to wake up from that dopamine that it gets you because it's sort of like a shock to your system from that cold exposure. And then you have like a sustained amount of dopamine throughout the day. And you'll be able to stay consistent with it because it's so easy and already something that you do every day. But if you look at the fundamental benefit of a cold shower and how it's scientifically working, the main mechanism for it is the cold exposure. And watching that video of how the marmot wakes up from hibernation. So scientifically, it uses its fat and it burns to warm up its internal systems and then wakes it up. But washing your face with cold water is cold, not warm. Well, actually, the cold water on you in a cold shower, it constricts your veins on the outside and then therefore the blood rushes into your more internal systems and then actually warms you up. So I don't know if you've watched Andrew Huberman or not, or anything else on really cold showers. That constricting will warm your insides. It actually works the exact opposite. If you take a warm shower at night or like a hot shower, it'll make all the blood go to your extremities, and then once you get out of that shower, your increased blood flow to your extremities and your little capillaries to just dump heat, it'll actually cool your internal system and then allow you to fall asleep faster. It's another little tip, but it's an example of how it could work in the opposite fashion. So by putting that cold water, although only on your head, it constricts the veins in your face and actually promotes a bit more blood flow inside your head, your brain, which is actually what's making you tired or awake. And of course, your brain is your main use of productivity. You use that to like talk and walk and think and all the things that you actually need to do work that actually creates value. So that's how it can scientifically work for you based on the marmot. Just like the marmot warming its internal systems, it can work for you in that way and not be any additional steps as long as you actually wash your face every single day. So in summary, this is altering an existing step that you already do in the morning and then reaping the benefits of an already well-known productivity and energy booster, although making it a lot easier to do, to therefore you staying consistent. And then you can use this every single day, but you may still be wondering, even if I know what to do and I already have the energy every single day to be productive, sometimes, or maybe a lot of times, I still get distracted to actually do my work. Well, I suggest you subscribe because exactly what I make my videos on is share my experience of the things I've done to live as a successful successful human in order to realize the potential that every human should as the most successful animal on the planet. And this is in the topics of focus to do the work, energy to be able to do the work for long periods of time, and then the knowledge to actually create as much value as possible.